anybody else notice that it's becoming harder and harder to watch or read dystopian fiction? Probably because of how dystopian the actual world is. Can you imagine living in a country where people are struggling to eat, but the leader is building a giant ballroom?
I think it'll be one of the great ballrooms anywhere in the world. It's about $300 million. It's set to do many, many things, including meetings of foreign leaders, including the honoring of foreign leaders. This is an interior shot of the ballroom. I think there'll be nothing like it. And it's being paid for 100% by me and some friends of mine, donors.
Donations from who? Billionaires who he gives giant tax breaks to? Who can then further write off this as a charitable donation? People are struggling to find jobs, or people with jobs are struggling to pay for food for their children, but their leader is throwing lavish parties. It's almost like they didn't understand The Great Gatsby at all. Or, more likely, didn't read the book and did the book report based on the cover. But at least the Christians are stepping up and standing up for the hungry people, right? And once again, our sponsor is Squarespace. You see, Squarespace is the all-in-one website platform designed to help you stand out and succeed online, whether you're just starting out, scaling up your business, or you're like me and you took forever to build a website and you finally did it and you're so glad you went with Squarespace because it was so much easier than you ever imagined. Okay, so say you're building a website and like, oh, I don't know, what's an idea? Oh, Jagger, my cat Jagger, and he's really cute. So he's sitting right beside me right now. You can't see him, but I know he's right beside me, and I know he's really cute. So I'm going to do what? jaggerscute.com. We'll see if that's available. We go to, it is available. Awesome. So what you want to do is you want to go to Squarespace, and you want to build a site with them, and you want to set up your domain name with them, because Squarespace makes it easy to find a name for your business at one fair, all-inclusive price, no hidden fees, no add-ons required. You build that website with advanced privacy security tools included to ensure your domain remains online and protected. Squarespace provides everything you need to get the word out that Jagger is cute. Your things, your doodads, get them up there, showcase your offerings, customizable website designed to attract clients, grow your business, get paid in a timely manner with professional on-brand invoices and online payments. What you want to do is you want to go to squarespace.com/belief for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, use offer code BELIEF to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. What are you waiting for? Hey everybody, thank you so much for liking and subscribing and commenting and all the other awesome stuff you do. I put the links down below for the merch. And there's new merch. We got a Christmas sweatshirt. And it looks awesome by designer Izzy Solidarity, as most of my newer merch is. They are a great designer, designing to the moon and back. I also put the links down there for the Patreon, for the website, beliefitornot.com, and all the other coolness that is cool. I just want to say up front, right off the bat, there are plenty of Christians who will go out of their way to make sure that people around them are fed and to make sure that people are taken care of and are fighting to make sure that people are taken care of in these times where people are struggling. But there are also far too many Christians right now who are outspoken about their faith and outspoken about not wanting people to have food. And many of you have probably encountered the video of Burnt Toast Lady. She has since deleted the original video, but someone was nice enough to repost it.
This message is for all the people that are complaining that they're not getting their food stamps for November. What did you do with October's food stamp money?
Bought food with it and then ate that food?
What'd you do?
Bought food with it and then ate that food?
Did you stock up on pantry items and try to shop smartly? Or did you just go buy a bunch of processed garbage?
People love pointing the finger at the people suffering instead of the people causing the suffering. And people love to infantilize people who are struggling, as if the poor don't know what they're doing. And the reason they are so poor is because they are different than me. They're less smart than me. They're less resourceful than me. It's a way to shield themselves from thinking that it would take one mishap at work, one factory closing in your town to put them in the same position. I grew up very poor and have struggled financially most of my life. If there's one thing that us poor people know how to do, it's how to stretch our food budget. It's why there are so many different rice dishes and so many different pasta dishes and so many great meals made with the parts of the animals that people used to throw out. I remember it being such a big treat when my dad would cook up a bunch of chicken hearts. And oxtail started out that way, and it's the best food that there is. What she's talking about isn't based on anything in reality. It's based on othering and wanting to feel superior. But she's not the only Christian on TikTok that has opinions on this. Like this nice lady. What does her profile say? Just a small town Christian Republican, and if you don't like it, get the hell out, middle finger. That's some Christian love right there. And that's what the gospel is all about, isn't it?
This is an environment of welcoming, and you should just get the hell out of here.
So we had grocery delivery today. Okay. Babe, how did we pay for the groceries?
With money.
Elaborate.
Money we get in our paycheck.
Well, at least we know they hate each other as much as they hate poor people.
Our debit cards, not our SNAP benefits.
Yeah.
So the word of the day is J-O-B, job. Get your ass up, get a motherfucking job, and pay for your goddamn groceries if you are so afraid of losing your benefits.
It's not very Christian talk, but at least it's coherent.
If it was about laziness, then why does the amount of people on Snap rise with events like the stock market crash of 2008? It's weird to me that laziness epidemics always seem to line up perfectly with financial situations. But another post she made seems to imply that she really likes veterans. Illegals should never come before our homeless veterans. Okay, first of all, nobody's illegal. A person can't be illegal. They're a person. A person can do illegal stuff, but it's weird that we call undocumented immigrants illegals, but murderers, we don't call them illegals. And I would argue personally that they've committed a much bigger crime than not filling out paperwork. But she thinks that veterans should be taken care of, right? And I wonder if that includes the 1.2 million veterans who rely on SNAP benefits, or the active members of the military who use SNAP benefits to feed their families.
Unfortunately, many military families and veterans are preparing to turn to food banks when food stamps benefits run out tomorrow.
It's ironic, too, to me that a country that is so pro-military doesn't even pay their military enough for them to afford to eat.
Now, turning to...
I just think our veterans deserve a little recognition.
That's what Veterans Day is for, Bart.
But is that really enough to honor our brave soldiers?
They also have Memorial Day.
Oh, Lisa, maybe you're right, maybe you're wrong. The important thing is veterans deserve a day to honor them.
They have two.
Well, maybe they should have 3. I'm Bart Simpson.
But of course, it's not just TikTokers. We got pastors and pundits who have their opinions.
First, I want to talk about SNAP, because I know that you are seeing a lot of stuff right now from professing Christians online. This is on the other side. I would say these are people who call themselves progressive Christians.
Not real Christians, of course, just professing Christians. I'm the real Christian with the real Christian beliefs.
Talking about how the Republican government is anti-Christian and how Republican Christians should stand up against the ending of SNAP benefits that supposedly Donald Trump is responsible for. So first, we're going to look at the facts, like what is SNAP, what is going on there, why are people saying that people are going to starve? And then, of course, what is the biblical role of the government? Should Christians be standing up and saying, yes, this is unjust?
Very soon, the SNAP benefits, which is like a welfare program, runs out, and I think people are kind of freaking out because it became public that I think it's 42 million Americans right now are on SNAP. So then it raises this question, right? The question then becomes, I think Christians are confused how to feel.
They shouldn't be confused how to feel at all. This is one of the things that Jesus was pretty consistent about. Feeding people was one of his big things. Christians are also usually human beings, and human beings should be very upset that there are other human beings who are not able to eat and who are not able to feed their children.
Because on the one hand, I think, probably most normal people that understand basic economics are like, it doesn't seem awesome that 42 million people were doing that.
No, it's not awesome at all that so many people in one of the richest countries in the world are having trouble feeding themselves and feeding their children. But whose fault is that? Is it the children? Is it the parents, many of whom are working full-time or working multiple jobs and still can't afford to feed their family? Or are there other factors at play that are causing this problem?
But then Christians are also, we're like, we love the poor people. Like, that's like our thing.
You sure about that?
It's like, we care about the poor. That's like our thing. So then I think Christians in particular, have been like, well, on the one hand, that feels really foolish and probably not a good economic system. On the other hand, I'm supposed to care about poor people. What should I think about this?
Does he think the SNAP benefits are the economic system? That the reason we should be outraged that 42 million people in such a wealthy nation are on SNAP is because of SNAP? And not that SNAP is needed because the economic system is so bad that they need a way to make sure that their citizens don't starve. It's like going to a battlefield and saying, wow, we are giving out so many bandages here. We should really cut back on the bandages. It's such a waste of money. No, we need to stop shooting each other. But until that ends, we need the bandages.
Oh, snap. 42 Americans need government assistance to eat. Does anyone else think that that's kind of high?
It's only 42 Americans? Well, that's actually pretty good.
Pardon me, Mr. Perfect! I guess I forgot that you never ever make a mistake!
That is a crazy amount of people. 11% of our country needs the government, the federal government, to hand them money to just feed their family. But are they feeding their families what they should feed their families? That's an important question.
Why are billionaires given such huge tax breaks? Why aren't companies forced to pay people a living wage? And it's the people who are living below the poverty line that he is mad at, not the greedy people who are making it happen.
42 million people are being subsidized by this program.
Their employers are being subsidized by these programs. Their employers should pay them enough so that they can eat. They're the ones being subsidized. Walmart, McDonald's, all these huge companies that pay their employees such low wages, they're the ones who are getting subsidized by these programs.
Ask me. Floor workers are barely worth $15 a week.
Don't even get me started. Pay us more. Give us more hours. I'm on food stamps. It's endless.
Yeah, those guys.
But man, I also want to be somebody that cares about the poor and make sure that the hungry are fed. And so what am I supposed to think about this? So the X post that I did that you're referencing was essentially like, man, it's actually not a historically Christian belief for some biblical reasons that the government should step into the primary role of charity and wealth redistribution.
Before, President Lyndon B. Johnson signed the Food Stamp Act, permanently establishing the program as part of his war on poverty. But poverty has not gone away. In fact, in some ways, it's gotten worse. By the 1980s, participation had climbed to 22 million, and here we are now in 2025, and we are at 42 million Americans who need government assistance. When will the war on poverty finally be won?
When they stop pointing the blame at the poor and aim it at the people who are actually causing the income disparity. But evangelical Christians have been making these claims for so long.
That is, our national debt is equivalent, ladies and gentlemen, to what we have spent fighting the war on poverty. In other words, if we had never started fighting the war on poverty back with Lyndon Johnson, the Great Society in 1965, we'd be dead even.
That's not how that works.
We'd be running a surplus. It is the war on poverty that has impoverished our nation.
No. That is not a thought-out take in the slightest. Correlation is not causation. tax breaks to billionaires far exceed that number. And if there weren't programs like SNAP and welfare, then there would be less spending in communities, which would mean less jobs for people who work in grocery stores or own grocery stores, which would mean less money spent in that community, which would mean less money paid in taxes to the government, which would mean full communities would crumble. Remember, these subsidies don't just help the person who's struggling, they help the community that they're in.
America has a dependent state the size of Spain living on our welfare. Think about that. We have a division in our country that cannot long endure. Those who pay double through taxes and those who get a free ride. This is not justice, and this is not the American way, and this is not how we became great. We became great by every American getting off his duff, getting himself a job, and making his life a thing of beauty based on his own efforts.
Actually, America was built famously, by forcing other people to do work for them. I'm surprised you didn't know that. There's actually a few books and movies about this. So if he wanted to reward hard work, then shouldn't he be super pro reparations?
Social policy would be different. The role of the church in what's called social justice. I mean, there's 205 verses in the Bible that talk about helping the poor. The government's only told to do one thing, and that is when the poor come into court, make sure they get justice. Every other verse tells the church and tells individuals to take care of the poor. I mean, we would have a whole different look at so many things and be so much more effective.
Yeah, but that's only if you ignore the fact that the Old Testament law was a law that a nation had to follow. And also, America's laws aren't supposed to be based on the Bible. It's supposed to be based on what's best for the country.
Gotcha. Why, when Jesus talks about feeding the poor, it's Christianity, but when a politician does it, it's socialism? Well, actually, there's really, really good reasons for that.
Because a long history of anti-Semitism has painted socialism as a Jewish conspiracy. And also the decades of Cold War has made communism and socialism a boogeyman in America, and that has been conflated to everything that tries to help Americans is socialism. So as a result, Americans aren't getting the medical attention they need, can't afford food, and are in extreme debt as a way to own the USSR.
What country is this car from?
It no longer exists, but take her for a test drive, and you'll agree. Zagreb Ebnem Zloty Gdiev. Put it in H!
Let me explain this, because well-meaning but naive Christians don't know how to respond to that.
Now, who's being naive?
So let me say a few things. Some people will sometimes they'll say it like this: man, shouldn't Christians full support of any welfare program because Jesus said to feed the hungry, and the early church was marked by generosity to the poor? Okay, few responses here. Number one, no, let me just point this out. No, using the government to forcefully take other people's money against their will and redistribute it was not a mark of the early church.
And give to Caesar the things that are Caesar's.
Personally, I'd rather my tax money went to feeding people and curing the sick than to wars and tax breaks for billionaires and CEOs. But I'm not a Christian.
America has rewarded laziness, and we've called it welfare.
America rewarded greed and called it trickle-down economics.
With governments, you tend to get more of what you subsidize and less of what you penalize.
Yeah, that's completely true. They keep rewarding billionaires and CEOs, and they keep leeching off the system, and they keep ripping off their employees. And they need to stop rewarding that. But if he's talking about penalizing people for being poor, that's been going on for a very long time, and I don't think it's fixing anything. Municipalities keep punishing people and fining people for not having a home. Hostile architecture makes it so they don't have a place to sleep. None of that makes people suddenly able to afford rent. Being unable to pay bills adds up interest, ruins credit scores, makes it harder to get a place to live, as if charging people money for not having money will fix the problem. And this includes bank accounts charging you for not having money in your account, which also doesn't magically put money in your account. People are regularly penalized for being poor, yet the amount of people who are below the poverty line keeps growing.
Give me a handout! I'm not
richest duck in the world, and you're not.
Should we just unconditionally give taxpayer money to people who say they need it?
Yes.
And have essentially no strings attached. You should be able to buy almost whatever you want to.
Yes.
Or should there be some limitations? And then, of course, there's probably some people who just don't believe that this is the role of the government at all, that this should just not be happening.
Should we just give churches tax-free status? Or should they show us that they're actually feeding and clothing people and taking care of people? Should we just give billionaires tax breaks? Or should we make sure that they are paying their employees a fair wage and providing decent working conditions? Should we allow tax write-offs to charities that the person donating to that charity owns and doesn't really do any charitable work with that? Or should we make sure that they're actually helping people? Why is it that it's always what are the hungry people doing with the scraps of food we give them, and not why are so many people hungry? This just goes back to that infantilizing of the poor. Like these women on the Christian version of The View that they have cleverly called the Christian View.
Take away their motivation.
Yeah. Of course.
If you give them and give them and give them and give them, you'll take away their need. And are they just settling? What I'd like to see our government do, help our people come up with ways that they can be inspired to go and raise themselves up instead of staying where they are.
Yeah, absolutely. Education is the key. I mean, a lot of people don't know about.
Our church has done that over and over.
Yeah.
We've had people come in and need, and we do help them, but they have no motivation. I mean, they're there to get the food. They have no motivation to do anything in life but come get the food.
And I think that's what happens sometimes, not always, but sometimes we let excuses keep us dependent on why we're not moving forward.
They're talking about people on social assistance like they are toddlers.
I told Ty that Republicans aren't selfish. It's just that they don't believe poor people should get handouts.
I mean, they should get jobs. Handouts just make them lazy, don't you think?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess so.
Well, they do. Todd never understood. He's a Democrat. They like handouts.
And speaking of handouts, I got you something.
Really?
And the question that we have to ask is, who are the people who are at risk for starvation if they lose these SNAP benefits? Well,
why are you laughing like that?
Like what?
You know, weird, creepy.
It's, allergy.
there's people like this lady who says that if she does not have government assistance, she will not be able to feed her family. Watch.
Employee of the school district, I only get paid once a month. By the time I get my bills paid, I have nothing left to pay for food and other basic needs. If it wasn't for SNAP benefits, I wouldn't be able to feed my children or myself. I work, pay my bills, and like every other mom, I want to be sure that I have enough food to put on the table.
Okay, now people might call me mean for calling out a woman like that, and obviously she is massively overweight.
No, I wouldn't say mean. I'd say more like he's a pile of infected pus that is pretending to be a human.
But it's not mean to call out a flagrant lack of concern about your health and well-being.
Fragrant lack of concern? Like a smelly lack of concern? Sorry, I know I use the wrong words sometimes, but I hate this man.
When you're that unhealthy, when you're that overweight, you cannot take care of a family. You cannot properly take care of yourself.
He's not concerned about her health. He's a bully. She's a school board employee who struggles to feed her kids. That should be what he cares about. That should be his takeaway. But he's a self-righteous prick, so he goes after her appearance. At the end of the day, he is a small-minded man without an ounce of decency, and if Jesus were real and he saw this man talking, he would throw him out on his ass.
Not only are costs to taxpayers skyrocketing, but RFK pointed out in August that a large portion of the funds are going toward candy and sugary drinks. This is something that RFK has been talking about. He's the HHS secretary, that the food stamps are actually fueling the diabetes epidemic. 18%, he says, of federal SNAP benefits to poor families is spent on candy and sugary drinks. Now, you have people trying to frame this saying, you know, poor kids deserve to have cookies, or poor kids deserve to have the juice box.
A juice box, really? She doesn't think poor people should have juice boxes?
And that's what she is, the queen of refuse.
So bow down to her if you want. Bow to her. Bow to the queen of slime, the queen of filth, the queen of putrescence. Boo! Boo! Rubbish! Filth! Slime! Muck! Boo! Boo! Boo!
Okay, that is the wrong way to frame this.
Really? It's the wrong way to frame it? She's saying with her full chest that poor children shouldn't have cookies. She's literally saying that she should steal candy from a baby.
The right way to frame this is, should the taxpayer, say the middle-class taxpayer, who is making just enough money to get by, should they be forced to pay for the food of someone that is not actually essential to them living?
Should we have an obligation in a functioning society to work together to take care of the most vulnerable? I think so. That's the society that I would want to live in. Do children deserve cookies and juice boxes? Yes. They deserve it all. They deserve the gum, the chocolate bars, the penny whistles, and the moon pies. But they always frame it as taxes that the middle class has to pay. When we keep screaming, tax the rich.
I think most of us would say, okay, I am willing to pay taxes to help the truly destitute family who needs bread and meat and water to get by. Like, I think all of us would say, yes, you know what, government, you can handle that. Even though I think primarily this should be the church's responsibility. This should be charitable giving. I think Christians do a much better, more efficient, and more trustworthy job than doing this than the government. And I do think that's the church's primary job. But I think all of us would be okay, if you want to take a portion of my hard-earned dollars, my tax money, and you want to give it to those who are truly destitute for a temporary amount of time to get their essentials, I think most of us would say, yeah, that's fine. That's okay. But if you are telling me that you are, that I am forced to pay for the diabetes of a kid whose parents could be working or could be relying on family members, that's not just. That's just theft. It's just theft.
As someone who pays American taxes because of how YouTube works, and I'm not smart enough to stop it, I would much rather that money goes to a cookie for a kid than a bomb for a kid in Palestine.
To the healthy who can't work but won't work, get your nasty self off the couch and go get a job.
Go get a job? Yeah. Just get a job? Why don't I strap on my job helmet and squeeze down into a job cannon and fire off into Jobland, where jobs grow on jobbies?
No examples in the Bible besides maybe Joseph of God commanding or affirming governments to take money from earners and redistribute it to take care of people.
There were no times except this time. So there was a time then. And America is struggling very hard right now. So maybe if there was a time, this is the time.
Okay. Now, sometimes I will say this because I want to get out ahead of it. Sometimes people point to the Old Testament gleaning laws in Deuteronomy, and that's like, they call them gleaning laws because farmers were commanded to leave the edges of their fields unharvested so that the poor could come and gather and they would be taken care of by those things. But people pointed out, number one, that was still a situation in which even the poor needed to do some form of work. Hey, that you still have a responsibility for you. It's trying to engender personal autonomy and growth of responsibility. But then also, number two, notice those commands are not given to a centralized government. Those commands are given to individual farmers in Israel. So it's not an example of centralized government
They're
welfare.
not collecting the leftover stuff and then redistributing it at their own thing. It's up to individuals to do it when they're filled. So, yeah.
That's exactly right.
Okay, so as I said, the Old Testament law, like the gleaning laws, were national laws. And in those laws, there were provisions for helping the poor and the hungry. There are plenty of examples of ancient civilizations who had similar or more intensive measures to ensure that people don't go hungry. But they keep going back to this idea that you have to make people work for their meals, not because we need things done, but because we want to break them of their lazy nature. When so many people on SNAP are employed, and like 20 million of them are children, why would you need to go to an old book to figure out whether or not children should have food in their bellies? where we have the means to make sure that there's food in their belly, where the food exists, and we have a way to get it to them. I don't need to look for justification in an old book to tell me whether or not we should get them that food. Just get them that food.
Orally speaking, I would be remiss if I did not actually approach Scripture with what does it actually teach with regards to feeding the poor.
Could you please stop yelling at me?
For certain in Scripture, giving to and helping the poor is a believer's priority, a direct command from Jesus in Luke's gospel. But here's what many non-believers think the message of Jesus actually is. Feed the poor and you go to heaven. Literally, that's what a lot of non-believers think. And a lot of those non-believers are left-wing voters who want bigger government to help everybody out cradle to the grave. Now, Christians fall into this mindset. Well, yeah, of course we should feed the poor, so maybe I should vote Democrat because after all, they're the people who want us to feed the poor, and poor people are in the eyes of God, and so therefore we must vote Democrat. Maybe that's the way that you believe. Let me just say something about that. You have every right to not vote that way regarding that ideology because of the abuse that I've just exposed on this program, but more importantly, because feed the poor is not the gospel. Feeding the poor is the result of receiving the gospel, but it is not the path to heaven. Jesus and his shed blood at Calvary is the only way by which you and I can be saved, and no works of man can make us right before God the Father. Only the finished work of Jesus Christ.
Why would you care? You say you follow Jesus. You say that he says to feed the poor. Why would you care if it's a condition of your salvation? Just do it. Just support programs that do it because you know that the guy you worship, the guy that you say is God, said it was a good thing to do. Why do you care whether or not that gets you into heaven? Is that all you care about as a Christian? Is whether or not you can get into heaven? Is that why you're doing this? Or is there a good person in there somewhere? If you're saying, yeah, there are starving people and Jesus said to feed them, but I don't get anything out of it if I do, so why would I? Yeah, you've got a problem.
And then we actually cultivate hearts of selfishness and callousness towards the most vulnerable people in the world. Let's not do that.
Anyways, this guy's immediately going to do that.
Because, even just to put it to a point, like the book of James in the context where it's talking about faith without works is dead, it is in the context of James talking about them refusing to help and take care of the deserving poor.
That's right.
The deserving poor? The deserving poor. Well, that phrase makes me want to vomit.
Right. And it's it's that serious. And basically, James is like, hey, if you are not helping, caring for the deserving poor around you, you may say you have faith, but you don't.
Remember when Jesus said, blessed are the deserving poor? Or in Luke, where he says, whoever has 2 tunics is to share with him who has none, as long as they are deserving poor. And whoever has food, do likewise. Again, as long as they are deserving poor. Check what kind of poor they are, and then give them their tunic, and then give them some food, okay? Classic Jesus.
That's how much James is elevating the stakes of it. So just wanted to put a point on that.
Yeah, when James says, with faith without works is dead, he says, what good is it? And really his principle is like, hey man, if you having faith doesn't result in good things happening to the people around you, then that type of faith is not going to do anything good for you either.
That's right.
So people who are hurting and in need around you, they should be marked and blessed by the presence of a Christian around them. Mm-hmm. So let me just say that, let's not overcorrect against socialistic redistribution of wealth, and then we just become selfish people. In fact, that's one of the specific ways the New Testament says you can get rewards in heaven is with generosity to the poor.
Yeah.
Okay.
Poor, you should care for the poor, but don't outsource your compassion to the government. That's not obedience to Christ. That's just laziness.
We Christians came up with this thing called separation of church and state. So when Jesus commands people to feed the poor and everything, that's given to the church. People are supposed to freely give out of the abundance of their hearts to the poor, to feed them. That commandment is not given to the state. So when the state is forcing people to pay this tax so that we can feed people, we can save these people instead, that would be the state trying to do the church's job. So what's actually demonic is these government programs saying that they're going to feed people. Jesus clearly teaches that not everyone deserves to eat anyways.
Okay, so we'll get back to that disgusting statement in a bit.
Jesus clearly teaches that not everyone deserves to eat anyways.
But let's focus on the idea that it's not the government's job to feed people, but it's the church's job. Last week, I started calling megachurches to see what they would do now that more people are hungry.
Life Church Ministry office. Krista, how can we help you?
Hi, yeah, I was just wondering, with everything going on with the SNAP benefits, what the church is doing to help make sure people are fed.
We have a bunch of different mission partners that are working through a lot of that. I don't have a lot of those answers right here.
Okay. Yeah, just curious, like if there was anything the church, like if you could stop by the church, or if there's specific ministries that they're helping, or charities that they're helping.
Yeah, so we've got 45 locations, and all of them work within their communities. So it just depends on where you are if you're looking for a specific resource.
Okay, well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a good one. Bye.
Church of the Highlands, this is Blaine. How may I direct your call?
Yeah, I was just, I had a quick question about, because of SNAP benefits, what the church was doing to make sure people in their community were fed.
Okay, which one of our campuses are you reaching out to in particular?
Just in general for the whole church. Like, I'm just looking for kind of your understanding of what the plan is as far as your church goes.
Okay, let me connect you over to our central outreach team. If they're not available to take a call at the moment, make sure to leave them a message.
Okay, sounds good.
The person you are trying to reach is currently unavailable. Please leave a message after the tone.
I realized pretty quickly that I should have had a plan going in, because I just picked up my phone and did it. But I posted the portion where I called Lakewood Church on my social media.
Thank you for calling Lakewood Church. Your call is very important to us, and we will be glad to assist you momentarily. Thank you for calling Lakewood Church. Please listen carefully to the following options. For general information about Lakewood Church, please press 1. If you need prayer, please press 2. For questions regarding an existing order, to place an order or make a donation, please press 3. If you are a Lakewood member and have a hospital visitation request, please press 4. If you are a Lakewood member and have had a death in your family, please press 5. If you would like to reach our Spanish ministry, please. Thank you for calling Lakewood Church. Your call is very important to us.
Yeah, I was just wondering what the church's response to SNAP benefits being cut are, if they're doing anything to help the community.
We do have a benevolence department. If you know of anyone that's needing help, please have them call us.
Okay, thank you so much. So, of course, I checked out the benevolence section of their website. And it seems that the only thing they offer is wedding and funeral services that you pay for, hospital visitations. Cool. They probably ask for money, but I don't know. And then a list of charities that other people run. So, really helpful. But Joel Osteen has a net worth of $100 million, of course. So that's pretty cool. And then somebody in the comments pointed out that somebody was doing a much better job at this than I was. So I reached out to her and asked if I could talk about her on my channel. Her name is Nikali, which I'm sure most of you know because she has gone super viral. And what she did was she called churches to say that her 2-month-old baby has run out of formula and asked if there was anything they could do to help her out. Not money, not food for herself, formula to keep a baby alive.
I was calling to see if y'all could help with formula at all. I have a 2-month-old baby and we ran out last night, so she's been going all day long without food. Is there any way y'all could help with formula?
We do have a benevolence ministry. I can take down your information and put in a request for you.
Okay, how long would that take?
We really don't have an estimated time just because we do receive a lot of requests here. Each applicant is different. It could take a couple of days. It could take a couple of weeks. We really just don't have a time frame there.
Okay, you said it would take a couple of days to weeks?
She would have to fill out some forms, and if she's approved, it could take a week. That's a week without feeding a baby. Now, I'm not a doctor, but I feel like a 2-month-old needs to eat at some point within a week.
We are a small church, and as a result, we have limited funds, and so we tend to help those that are part of the church or come to the church.
Okay, how do you normally buy it?
Okay, I don't know, so hold on just a sec.
Call has been forwarded to voicemail. The person you're trying to reach is not available. At the tone.
And I've been...
Hold on. Unfortunately, our social services is closed today. They really don't do children.
I think it was the words of Jesus who said, "Oh, no, I don't do children. Sorry."
It's not something y'all could get and I could just pick it up?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't have any formula here for not baby. No, we have a kitchen, but we don't have milk.
Okay. Is there any way y'all could just get a can and I could pick it up?
No, I don't know that. We don't have time to do that because we don't have nothing but some senior citizen here, and we don't have nobody to do that, so you have to try to call another area.
We have a benevolence program, but it is for our members.
It's just for the members, because, like, I have a 2-month-old and she hasn't ate, like, since last night, so she's gone all night and all day without any formula. Like, I don't need money or anything. I just need, like, a small little can, and I've been calling everywhere, and they're just telling me call churches, and I just don't know what else to do.
Yeah, we don't have any formula here to give out. We don't have any kind of food bank or anything like that.
Would it be something y'all could get and I could pick it up?
What's that?
Would it be something you all would be able to get and I can pick it up?
Well, like I said, if it's anything like that, our benevolence is for our members.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I will not have my benevolence abused.
They only help members. They must be really struggling if they can't afford a $17 can of formula. What squalor is this church in? Oh, that's actually quite nice.
Equipment that you see, like the audio video lights for Sunday and special productions. I also handle working with you and Pastor Ron to make sure our worship services are firing on all cylinders. That involves things like being in this control room on Sunday, overseeing our team, and then also up in the sound booth, overseeing that team.
That's a lot. Put all that in parentheses and probably a whole lot more. That's a really cool thing. It's really exciting, especially when you get to see all this kind of stuff.
I just don't remember the Bible verse where Jesus said, make sure you have sound equipment, but don't worry about keeping babies alive. And you'd think that the pastor would be a little embarrassed by this and maybe try to fix it or maybe try to apologize. But no, here he is on Sunday.
The video that has celebrated what is believed to be unrighteous behavior on our part is itself an unrighteous, fake attempt to set a trap for us and derail the ministry of GBC and steal our joy and steal our confidence as the people of God. We seek to walk in the light and walk in truth. The attempt to disparage GBC is neither light nor truth. The writer of Proverbs is known to personify wisdom as a person, but he also personifies folly. He says in chapter 9, verse 13, the woman folly is loud. She is seductive and knows nothing.
All he had to do was say, we need to do better. This is a wake-up call. That's it.
Yeah, do you, which one of our campuses do you attend?
I'm not aware of any programs that we have like that. We don't have any formula around, darling. I'm sorry. None. No diapers, anything for babies. We don't have any.
Could that be something you all could get and I could just pick it up?
No, we can't right now. I'm sorry.
But I bet these people really reflected on what they did. Oh, they called her a witch.
It's just the spirit of a witch.
Whoa, she turned me into a newt. A newt.
Got better.
It's a witch. And my Bible says he do not allow that thing to live.
You're human garbage.
So you have to watch when you fooling with God. I told him I have my scripture. I'm going to slip it in here this week. I didn't get a chance to share it out of Daniel chapter 5. What happened when you mess with the people of God? You taking your life into your own hand. Now, they might have a few little TikTok demons came up in here today. Please stay for the rest of the service. Please stay. But you will behave yourself. Because this is not one of them churches you're going to come and disrupt it. You will be dealt with.
Of course, there were some who said yes, and I think it is wrong to not focus on them.
Who would be willing to help a starving baby? And somebody requested that I call a Buddhist temple. And so, yeah, you were willing to do what you needed to do to make sure a baby got fed, even though it's not what you all offer. So I just wanted to thank you for that, for having that kind of heart and compassion for somebody.
Okay, and what kind of formula you use?
It's the Good Start.
Good Start. Yeah, this time, man, if you come over here, we'll help you.
Okay, hold on just 1 second, okay?
Okay, so we got a Buddhist temple, an Islamic center, and there were some Christian churches, like this sweet old man.
Now, what exactly are you needing?
I just need the Good Start formula.
Okay. So how much do you need? I need to know about that.
I'm not sure. I think I usually have, I think it's maybe $17 at Walmart. I mean, if y'all could just get the formula, I could pick it up or have somebody come get it.
Well, I'm an officer right now by myself, and I'll see if I can get somebody to do this.
Okay.
We can do this. I'll just see. Tell me what it is it's called in case I have to go get it, because I'm a great grandpa. I'm not used to picking up formula. Okay. What's it called?
Again, I am not here saying that there are no Christians who help and there are no Christians who are kind. What I'm saying is it's frustrating how many churches are becoming numb to the world around them. And you'd think this would be a huge wake-up call to Christians everywhere, but so many Christian reactions have been so concerning.
With this current social experiment that's trending with the woman calling and asking for baby formula, I'm seeing a bunch of experts on how churches are meant to operate. Experts telling you that if a church doesn't do A, B, and C, it's a bad church. Leave the church. Don't donate to the church anymore. And as I've stated in my other videos, I'm not defending every single church because I don't know how they're operating. But I will stand on what I've said once and I'll say it again. This is setting a very dangerous precedent because this is not the test of a good church. Do churches help provide for their community? Absolutely. But it is not the church's responsibility to do so. The church's responsibility is to shepherd the congregation, building them up to be mature in the faith so they can go into the community and make an impact.
So it's not the government's job to feed the hungry, it's the church's. But it's not the church's job to feed the hungry, it's their job to shepherd the flock. And in the comments, someone asked him, whose job is it then to feed the hungry? It's not. It's the individual believers. We have a responsibility. How many people walk past the people in need every day? Tomorrow is Veterans Day. How many veterans are still in the streets homeless? It's our job, the people. What even is that statement? First of all, he's just passing the buck. Second, the church is the people, right? The church is supposed to be a group of individuals who care what the Bible says. The church is tax exempt because they're supposed to be doing good things. All he needed to say was, we need to do better. This is a wake-up call.
There's a woman on TikTok who's doing a social experiment where she is calling churches to ask about baby formula to see if any of them will actually help them out.
But to be fair to this man, though, he can't even afford a shirt.
And she called a mosque, and they actually would help them out, while none of the churches. And this doesn't surprise me as a pastor, and I talk a lot about Muslim zakat. It's one of the 5 pillars of Islam, where Muslim communities and Muslims are obligated to provide charity to the community. Churches, they are not obligated. We hope that they're going to be able to be philanthropic and donate into their community. And my church has a food bank that I'm very proud of, but not every church has a discretionary fund. As a pastor, I have a discretionary fund, but also there's a scam going on right now in churches. My assistant this week got a text saying, "Hi, this is Pastor Burke, Pastor Tom. Can you send me the directory of the church?" Because what scammers do is they go through the directory of churches, they go through online directories, and they email and they scam all members of churches, and they say, can you send me a Visa gift card? Can you send me this gift card?
She asked for one can of formula that she would personally pick up. I would love to know how that scam works.
Con artist. She might have been.
Just say, we need to do better. This is a wake-up call. That simple.
This nut is calling churches asking for formula for her baby that she says is starving, and when the churches cannot provide her formula, she blasts them all over social media.
I knew it. I'm surrounded by assholes.
Responsibility of the church. I mean, what's our responsibility as Christians, where we come into the scene rather than the government having to come into the scene all the time?
And Jesus commands people to feed the poor and everything. That's given to the church.
So people who are hurting and in need around you, like, they should be marked and blessed by the presence of a Christian around them.
For certain in Scripture, giving to and helping the poor is a believer's priority.
Even though I think primarily this should be the church's responsibility, this should be charitable giving. I think Christians do a much better, more efficient, and more trustworthy job than doing this than the government.
But it is not the church's responsibility to do so.
Churches, they are not obligated.
Churches are abused so much.
So it's not the government's job, because the church is supposed to help. But it's also not the church's job. But also, if you do ask the church for help, you're probably a scammer. If that's really what they're saying, that it's up to the church to feed people, and they really believe that it's the church's job to feed people, they need to set up that system and work with other churches and work with churches around the country to make sure that these needs are being met. And they need to do that before the government stops helping people. Otherwise, people will die. Don't just pull the program, say the government shouldn't do it, and then not have a system set up in the churches to help them. That's just a recipe for disaster. That's just asking for children to die.
It applies here. It's called when helping hurts. And that if you can have good intentions, but actually you could be doing it in such a way, it's talking about missions in a way that it actually hurts the people that you're trying to serve. And this is pretty much what you're getting at here, is that we can do things in such a way that our heart bleeds with the poor, as we already said it should. But if we end up helping them in a way that hurts them, we're actually doing them a disservice.
So it's the church's job, not the government's. But if you help people, you are doing them a disservice.
Nothing makes any sense. Nothing makes any sense.
These people also want laws about who you can marry, what gender you are, and where women are allowed to stand or whatever. Because they say that laws are about morality and Christians have the best morals, so the laws should be based on Christian morals. They say things like that all the time. Yet for some reason, these super moral people who say they follow the Bible and want the government to follow the Bible all of a sudden get angry that the government is feeding hungry people. Which one do you want? Do you want a Christian nation, or do you want a nation that lets children die? Or are they the same thing to you?
Anyone is not willing to work, let him not eat. Now, he didn't say not able to work. He said not willing to work. There are people who are truly unable to work, who might really need help. Again, I think it's the church's responsibility to care for those people, but I don't think it's wrong for the government to have a role to play in that. But we should not be incentivizing idleness.
Conservative Christians love this verse, but with context, whenever you point out a Bible verse to them, they don't care at all about the context for this one. This verse was directed at Christians who thought that Jesus was coming back at any moment, so they stopped working. And then they're told to go about their lives as normal because they don't know when Christ will return. But these people take it and act like it trumps all the other verses about feeding the hungry.
Jesus says about those sheep, I was hungry, you gave me food. I was thirsty, you gave me drink. I was a stranger, you welcomed me. I was naked, you clothed me. And then they will say, well, when? When did we ever see you like that? And he says, whatever you did to the least of these, you did to me. Now, this is a passage that's within a larger context, Matthew 24 and 25. And so you have to read it in that context. Back to the very first word of Matthew 25, on the heels of the Olivet Discourse describing the end times, the tribulation. Then, here's what you have to understand. Feeding the poor is not a must for salvation. That's not what Jesus is saying at all in this text. What Jesus is saying is this: when times are at their worst, Christians need to be at their best. They need to be filled with the Holy Spirit. They need to be investing in eternal realities, and they need to be helping each other out. In fact, the worst of times should show off the best of our faith. Yet Matthew 25 continues to be the carte blanche passage that is used to rationalize increased taxes at an endless rate to produce some sort of income redistribution socialistic scheme at the hands of government bureaucrats.
Yeah, Judgment Day happens after the end of the world, according to the Bible. So of course this story happens after that. That doesn't mean the story is only talking about how they acted at the end. It's just that all the people will be judged at the end. All the people that lived in all the times. So no, it's not talking about how you act during the tribulation or whatever. It's just feed hungry people. But they'll do anything to make that verse in 2 Thessalonians say not to feed the hungry, and anything they can to make this passage in Matthew not say to feed the hungry. Because these people have argued themselves out of a conscience. They've religioned themselves out of compassion. They've spiritualized themselves into making people starve while feeling superior about it. I say tax the churches, tax the billionaires, hold CEOs accountable for what they pay people. Stop blaming hungry people for being hungry. Hey everybody, thank you so much for making it this far. If you know someone who may benefit from it, send it their way. Also, feed a baby. If there's a starving baby, just feed the baby. As always, I love you all.
Work, Sky Moon.